inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
My guest on the podcast today did something so basic that I really believe anybody could do what he did if they really focused on it. He didn't get really aggressive. He bought 1 or 2 rental properties a year, and he really focused on getting these properties paid off. Today, he owns 60 rental properties. They're all owned free and clear, and he self-manages these properties, and it doesn't take a lot of time. He does this kind of on the side, and it's really just an incredible story. So I want to get some details, find out how he did this, how he got everything paid off, and find out how his business works. So let's take a really quick break. We'll thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Mike McCann, the real estate man from Philadelphia. The first step in buying a rental property is to get pre-qualified. And I would suggest you work with a lender that specializes in working with investors, because the last thing you want to have happen is to get to closing and find out the money's not there and you can't close. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and she'll pre-qualify you for free if you mention Rental Income Podcast. Find out more today. Contact Chaley at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. Are you looking for actionable steps to create wealth and passive income? As a top-ranked business and investing podcast with over 800 five-star reviews, the Passive Real Estate Investing Show is packed with strategies and insight for putting money in your pocket. Marco Santarelli from Narada Real Estate Investments brings his expertise and knowledge on both passive and turnkey real estate investing, and he provides listeners with helpful tools and tips to create the wealth you've always wanted. Head over to iTunes or Google Play today and subscribe to Passive Real Estate Investing Podcast, or visit passiverealestateinvesting.com. That's passiverealestateinvesting.com. Mike, let's start at the very beginning of your story. How did you first get the idea that you wanted to invest in rental properties?
Okay, Dan. So I am in Center City, Philadelphia. This was in the early 80s. I was a waiter. I lived with a roommate. And both him and my other best friend said they were going to start buying real estate about 85. And the reason they was the market started to take off in real estate because rates went down from 21% down to 14%. So the market took off. Can you believe that?
That's incredible.
So I'm a waiter, and they said, come on, Michael, we're going to take a course, buy real estate. I said, I can't buy real estate. I don't work for my dad. I'm a waiter. They're like, Michael, just take the course. So I took this course, and in 2 seconds, I said, I want to sell real estate. And so I became a realtor. And about 88, so my second year in the business, I met this guy who called me up, and it's a house in Pensport. It's a section of South Philly. He's got jeans and an undershirt on, doesn't look spectacular. And he says, I'm going to buy this house $30,000 cash. And inside, I'm like, oh, he doesn't have $30,000 cash. He buys the house. I get to know him. He's like 40 years old. He told me he started to buy homes about 15, 18 years ago when he was like 22, 23. And he said, Mike, now I can afford any affluent neighborhood, but I buy homes in a blue-collar, working-class neighborhood, and I clean them up, and I rent them out, and people stay with me for a long time. He said, I get 10-year mortgages, and they pay them off. He had retired from his job at 40 years old, and he had been like a plumber or something like that. So it wasn't like he was this guy with money. So he had started to buy real estate, got 10-year loans, and he said, I don't need to make money per house when I first buy it, as long as it's paying the mortgage off, so I can get that mortgage paid off so I can own the house. And he owned a couple dozen homes that were paid off from his 18 years, 15 years of owning real estate. So I went home to my wife that night and I said, honey, we're going to buy one home a year.
And you did it. So you bought a house every single year?
So that's what I did. Now, initially back then you needed 30% down. And so I bought in what I call blue collar neighborhoods right around Center City that had upward appreciation. Some people at the time were buying a lot of Section 8 properties with government subsidy, but I didn't like the wear and the tear and all that. So I was buying in blue-collar neighborhoods. And my first, I'd say 5 or 6 were with a partner, a realtor who I worked with, because I didn't have 30% to put down. My first two I bought with this one partner. He put up half, I put up half. We bought it. And then each year, which was nice, in 88, we bought one. In 89, we bought one. And real estate's going up at that time, 8, 10, 12% a year. So we're like, oh, it went up. And then I bought a duplex in 90. And then the market collapsed. And so I have these 3 investment properties. And so the next 6, 7 years, real estate was down in the country 10, 20, 30, 40%. So I'm freaking out to my wife. I'm like, we have 70,000 in this property. It's worth 40. She said, Michael, it pays more than the mortgage. We're making a couple $100 a month positive cash flow. The market will come back.
Speaking of mortgages, let's talk about how you got your properties paid off so quickly. You mentioned that your friend or your client that gave you the idea to buy rental properties bought the properties with 10-year mortgages. Is that what you did? Did you get a 10 or 15-year mortgage?
Well, it's funny. The 2 friends who told me they were going to buy real estate never really ended up buying real estate and doing well. And I was the one who didn't have that idea, and I became the successful real estate entrepreneur. But that one person was a client who I had met, so who paid off the loans. So yes, every property that I purchased, I got a 15-year loan, and I had them paid off. So, today I have over 60 properties, and they were all paid off. And so, my goal was by the time I'm 50 to have 50 properties paid off.
All right. So now a lot of people might want to take longer to get the properties paid off, but you I guess you had that in your mind that you wanted to get the properties paid off. What made you want to pay them off versus getting a longer mortgage with a cheaper payment and then be able to buy more properties?
Okay, and that's legitimate. A lot of my friends, they would buy a property, fix it up, then refinance it, and then take that money from that and buy another one. And that's a great thing to do. Whatever sources, the key thing. Because I've been doing this 33 years, and I sell real estate for a living, but I always say to my team, 20 agents that work on my team, and a bunch of assistants, and I always say, we make money selling real estate. You build wealth owning real estate.
Good advice.
I tell them to try to buy 1 property a year, and a lot of people take these late night commercials or they hear about people making a lot of money in real estate. Real estate for true wealth is a long-term game. Mm-hmm. Not go wrong if you acquire long-term. And you don't have to get rich off of that particular property. And so the reason I like to buy 1 or 2 a year is because I'll buy it, I'll clean it up, then I'll rent it out. Once that's all going, then I'll start looking for my next one. The reason I like to pay them off sooner is just to have equity in my, just not to have debt. Mm-hmm. Sure. If you need debt to buy your next one, that's fine, and you need to refinance it, take some money. I'm okay with that. And some of my agents, because the prices are higher, have gotten 30-year loans, and they're going to pay them off faster. They might make extra payments. You can do that also. So my key thing is, as long as that property is making $100, $200, $300 a month positive cash flow and paying my mortgage off. I just had one. I bought it in 1996. I paid, I think it was $65,000. I put about 10 or 15 into it. For the next 8 years, probably didn't go well. No, for the next 8 years, it went up steadily, a couple percent. But I just sold that 2018 for $275,000. That tenant was with me 20 years. 20 years he paid that house off.
Now, when you have those kind of gains, And I'm sure you've got some of those earlier properties, I'm sure, have appreciated a lot too. Are you ever tempted to take that money out since, we're kind of at a higher point in the market? Who knows if this is the peak, but like you've got a ton of appreciation. Are you ever tempted to cash out a little bit? Or
yes, it's okay to unload some of your investment properties because who knows, the market could go down again. It's like stocks. It's like selling your stocks at the high price. So I have sold. I really am not a seller, but I have sold. I sold almost all my partner ones out just so I would have freedom of myself. I almost have 0 partners now, and everything I own now I just own with my wife and myself. But yes, in a high market, you should sell out. And the other thing is, real quick, is sometimes I'll be fixing up a rental property and I'll be like, let's do more. Okay, I'll do a little bit more. And the market's going up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to flip this one. So, and I've done some. I do. It's sometimes you get a good enough deal, you can do enough improvements where you can do a flip and make $20,000, $40,000, $80,000 in a little flip.
Right.
Most of the properties I deal with they're all in an urban environment, all in Center City in South Philadelphia. And so my whole marketplace is it's like a 3-mile square block radius. And it's a growing environment, Philadelphia, with all the millennials. So it's very exciting. I love properties that I bought in areas 15 years ago where no one was in. And I was acquiring them at a respectable price, cleaning them up. And now there's new construction, there's tons of more rehabs, and the whole neighborhoods have changed.
Yeah, that's got to be exciting to see that.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. Now, what about managing your properties? I mean, so you have 60 properties today. You've got a busy real estate team that you manage. You've got stuff going on. Are you managing these properties yourself, or do you have a property manager?
It's funny. Again, being a real estate agent for 33 years, I tell every investor to manage their own properties. The only thing that you need that's key in managing real estate is having an excellent handyman. Mm-hmm. So we manage all of our properties. So the tenants mail us the rent, and if there's any problems, no phone calls, they email me, and then I send that email to my contractor, who's email intelligent, will come by, pick the key up my office or meet the tenant and go fix the repair and send me an invoice. And my wife does the bookkeeping. I don't do the bookkeeping. She does all the books. She deposits the checks and pays the taxes and the water bills and the insurance and all that stuff. So we have a team effect, meaning I handle the relations with the tenants. I secure the tenants. John's my contractor, has been with me 10 years.
It just, to me, seems like there's a lot of management companies that are managing 60 properties and they have a handful of employees. And it just sounds like something you kind of do in your spare time. Like this isn't like taking up a lot of time. It doesn't sound.
It's taking up no time at all. And it keeps me, as I say, the air traffic controller. So I know I keep my tenants happy. My tenants, they love me. And if they buy a home, they end up buying a home from me. Mm-hmm. But I keep them happy. That's what I want. I want peace in everybody's life. But screening a tenant to make sure you get the right tenant in, the job history, the good credit is important. So you get someone in that's good. Their heat goes out. I respond. I always tell people I respond within 2 minutes to 2 hours. Received your message. I'm on it. I'll text, email my contractor. He'll be out there. So we give tenant relations, and it keeps them happy.
Right.
So yes, it's zero time for me.
Yeah, that's
but
great.
I know what's going on, and then my guy will be there and he'll fix it. Or if it's something expensive, he'll email or text me back, "Hey, Mike, it's this," and I'll say, "Okay, do it." He knows I'm going to tell him to do it anyway. But having that relationship, so he's doing, jobs for my clients,
right?
And jobs for me.
Keeping tenants for life. I mean, having long-term tenants, I think, is so important to being profitable as a rental investor, because it gets expensive when you're turning over a property and then you've got vacancy. How do you keep tenants for life? Like, is it Are you keeping the rents low? Are you raising rents? Like, how do you deal with that?
I do raise rents periodically. My rent is so when I have a vacancy, like I just had one just come up and it's rented for $1,000 a month. Well, they've been with me 4 years. It's a little 1-bedroom apartment. I haven't raised the rent since they were in there. It's $1,000 a month. So I put it up for $1,250 a month, and I just rented it for $1,250. Now that $1,250 a month, I probably won't change their rent for 4 years, unless there's a dramatic. We've had a couple tax increases, so I did raise some of my tenants over the last couple years, but I don't raise rents that much, and my market rent is fair market. I don't squeeze because if you squeeze people, even if you get someone, they'll find out they're overpaying for that neighborhood,
Right.
and they will leave the next year. Man, a year flies.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a brand new. I feel like it's a new tenant. Well, it's funny. One of my tenants, after 2.5 years, just gave notice. Mike, I think I have to leave. I'm like, you just got there. And Mike, it's been 2.5 years. I'm like, oh my goodness. So just taking care of your tenants and responding humanly, and sometimes say a roof's leaking and it's pouring rain, and oh my God, I said, please, towels in a bucket. I'm sorry, I'll have this cleaned up, but my roof will be there first thing tomorrow. There's nothing we can do right now. If it were my own home, I'd be in that same situation.
Right.
So I treat them like it's my own home, and they know that, so they stay with me.
That's great. That's awesome.
But I so to me, for turnover, my average turnover, because I is $2,000-$3,000 because I buff the floors, paint the unit, caulk it, might replace some appliances. I just don't like to have turnover if I don't have to.
Now, talk to me about your strategy for paying the mortgages off. So you mentioned you would get a 15-year mortgage when you bought a house. Like, how were you paying those off? Like, were you just like sending in extra money every month, or like would you make big lump sum payments as you got commission checks? Like, what strategy did you use to pay off the properties?
Well, again, early on, because of the down payment required, I was just coming up with the down payment and the closing costs, and then the mortgage, and then I was renting them, and I wasn't paying anything extra. It's as my wealth grew, but they were 15-year loans. So if I bought something in 1992, by 07, that was paid off. But so in the 90s, I was probably not paying anything extra, but but some started to get paid off in the early 2000s. And then when I did some flips in 2003, 4, 5. I sold some of my property and I did some flips. I paid off my stuff, and then other ones just rolled off. But I haven't had a mortgage for 10 years now, probably, or 9 or 10 years now.
So that is really awesome. So, all right. So the first properties would just pay off naturally, but then as you have properties paid off, your cash flow goes up. So then you've got more money then, and through the flips and the other stuff you're doing, then you had money to pay off the extra properties. Like, so
that is correct.
It's almost like, did it become easier? Like, as you had more properties paid off, did it get easier to pay off more properties?
It did. I always like to have one project in the works, at least. Like one that I'm fixing up to either sell or to hold. If I had the money and that was already done, and then I had extra money, I would pay it off. Or just say I sold a property, and again, being in real estate, if you own rentals, you're going to run into flips. So there's times where I could rehab a property, buy it cheap, fix it up, and sell it. And there's times where you could make 20 or 30,000. There's same times when the market's booming where you could make 80,000.
Yep.
So you pull out $80,000, and I have 30,000 on this loan and 50 on this loan. Let's just pay them off, honey.
Right.
So if I ever needed to, I could pull that equity out, or I could, but I try again. I'm old school where I am very conservative, slow and steady, because I saw everybody lose their shirt in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm conservative that I don't like debt.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of debt. I don't want to owe nobody, as we say in Philly, I don't want to owe nobody nothing. So
Right.
honestly, I just don't like that. But if you need to borrow money to buy a property and then some construction money to fix it up, and then either flip that or hold that for a rental. But anybody that's 22 to 40, they should buy real estate.
Yep.
Nothing will be more valuable. If they hold that property 15, 20 years, it'll be worth 100% more.
Yep.
I mean, all the stuff that I was buying in the 90s for $30,000 and $50,000 is all worth $200,000 to $400,000. And the stuff that I was paying $130,000 for is worth $650,000, $700,000, and more.
Incredible. Yeah.
So, and that's all been paid off. So I paid $130,000 for this property, in the 94, and it's worth $650,000, $700,000. It's been paid off for 15 years.
Right.
I'm collecting 30. I'm collecting about $4,000 a month on that property. Wow. But why would I sell it? And it's worth $600,000-$700,000. So it's a win-win. But in 95, if I had sold it, I would have lost. 96, 97, 98. So long term. And one of the other things I love is improving the neighborhoods. I always make sure the exterior of my homes are very appealing, whether it's nice paint or doors. I always plant a tree, throw some flower boxes, and that encourages other people. I can go down streets now where I own 2 or 3 houses on, and I planted trees, and other people followed, and I put shutters and flower boxes, and other people followed, and the blocks are beautiful now.
That's great. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Mike,
and I'm doing that right now with my daughter. She just bought her first little house, and it's in a marginal area. And again, I'm not being daddy fine. I'm not being daddy by it.
Right.
She's got to do it. She's got to learn it. I'm watching her do it. But she bought a property in an area that we believe in the next 5 years will transition much more than it is today. And she's bought it. She's $90,000. She's putting $20,000 into it, and we'll rent it for about $1,100 a month. We're going to put a tree out there, and then, but in 5 years, that block will be totally different.
Right. And
she'll have great equity in that house.
Yeah, it's like real estate. It's so simple. It's like you just buy, and over a long period of time, even if you make a bad buy over a long period of time, real estate is very forgiving.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And people say, well, you're in real estate. You only get the best deals. When I'm buying a property, I'm paying fair market value most of the time. I'm not getting these off-market stealing from some family or local. No. Every time that I buy, and I would say 95% of the time was an open market property that anyone could have purchased, that I got a respectable deal on, but nothing where like, oh, you're the best. No.
Right.
But over time, and there's some that I've overpaid for, or because the market went down right after I bought it, but held on to it, and it's worth hundreds, not 100% more, not 200, but 300, 400, 500. So yes, it's very, very forgiving. The key thing is being able to manage that property, and managing that property just means having I call it my handyman because he can do anything. He can do my plumbing, heating, electric. If I need a brand new heater, I'll bring my heater guy in. Or if I need a brand new roof, I'll bring my roofer in. But my general contractor, handyman guy can do, from paint to caulk to tile to electric to all kinds of stuff. So that's the key thing, having someone who will go out and take those calls on a timely fashion, not rip you off, and do the job. And my guys know when they go to a property, if they see something else that needs to be done, to tell me about it and just do it, because I like my properties to be proud of. I love driving past my properties and knowing and seeing that they're one of the better looking ones on the block.
That is great. Well, if anybody is looking to buy or sell in the Philly area, Mike is definitely someone you want to reach out to. Mike, tell us about your team and how someone can contact you.
Sure. I am Mike McCann, the real estate man, and I'm with Keller Williams Philly on Broad Street, right in downtown Philadelphia. I handle Center City and all the surrounding neighborhoods, from Kensington to South Philly to West Philly to North Philly, Art Museum, Point Breeze. There's so much going on. And the city is on fire with all the millennials. It's a great, great place to invest. It's a great place to live.
If you want to reach out to Mike, I've got his contact information on the website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 216. If Mike inspired you and you're ready to buy a rental property, the lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender and she specializes in helping investors buy rental properties. She's got really good rates and she makes the process so simple. So definitely reach out to Chaley if you want to learn more. You can contact her at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE, lendinggroup.com. And if you mention Rental Income Podcast, she will waive all of the pre-qualification fees. NMLS 42056. I'd like to thank AutoSlash for sponsoring today's episode. I actually was using AutoSlash over the weekend. We've got a family vacation coming up in a couple of weeks, and I've been thinking about booking a rental car. And over the weekend in the mail, I got a flyer from my credit card company saying that they had a promotional rate where you could get a discount on a car rental. So I went to the website and put in all the information, and I got a rate of $550. So then I went on to AutoSlash to see what their rate would be, and they came in at $350 for the exact same car, exact same dates. Everything was exactly the same. So I went ahead and booked it on AutoSlash. Very simple. And then I put the reservation on the tracker, so AutoSlash will continue to search the internet, and if it finds a better rate, it'll let me know. So I'll let you know what happens, but I'm really happy with the rate that they got me. If you want to check out AutoSlash, just go to autoslash.com. That's AUTOSLASH, autoslash.com. It's totally free, and the average user will save 30% off the best rate that they can find on any other car rental site. The website, again, is autoslash.com. That's autoslash.com. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the podcast. I really appreciate it. We've got new interviews every Tuesday, and I will see you next Tuesday. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.